Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. I'm Jeanie Ryce, your co-host, and we welcome you to the show. Today is November 28th, 2014. It's Aramaic Friday, and day after Thanksgiving. We had an awesome time yesterday in expressing what all we are thankful for in our life. I don't see Dale with us yet, but before we welcome Michael, let me give you our call-in number, 646-200-4169. Press 1, and that puts you in queue to talk to us. And we would love to hear your comments and your questions, because then that makes this your show. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear Hurt. We are in beautiful Johnson City, Tennessee, with sunny skies, a few puffy white clouds, and about 30 degrees. So it's a little on the chilly side, but it's going to be a pretty day for a drive. We're actually on the road today, having completed Thanksgiving with family yesterday. We had a great feast, and we are heading out to Wilmington, North Carolina, so we'll get to see Susan very shortly, and we're looking forward to working with her Laws of Living group on Monday night. We're going to get to do still point breathing and feedback personal code evaluation. She's completed the 8-week series, and so that's exciting. And we're kind of traveling a little differently than we had originally anticipated. Fortunately, Jeannie's dad likes big cars, so we've got this huge Mercury that we're driving. We were taking our van in to get some service done on it the other day, and on the way there, it threw a bearing. And so with almost 300,000 miles, we're not going to spend $15,000 for a new engine. And so we're looking at what comes next. But in the meantime, we have to be on the road, so we borrowed Dad's car, and here we are. I feel like a teenager again. And we're actually just getting ready to go over and unload things from the van. So hold the space for our travel. We'll be unloading the van, and then we've got about a 7-hour drive, and this week we'll figure out just exactly what we're going to do with the whole van situation. And the one that we bought 2 years ago, as several of you know about, and it served us well. But it was really strange. Just on the way over to the dealer, we're actually about 5 miles from the dealer, and it stalled and threw a bearing. So anyway, whatever that's about, we're on the road again. And we're delighted to be sharing this space with each and every one of you. Aramaic Friday looks at the context of the Aramaic language, and in particular the meanings of words. That it's impossible to think correctly without the correct meaning of words. The mind can't function properly without a correct meaning. I think that's what led Vladimir Lenin, who's his philosophy has become the source of the death of hundreds of millions of people on the planet. Pretty bizarre, pretty crazy. And, well, maybe not hundreds, but tens of millions. And one of the things that he said is, if you can change the meaning of a culture's words, you can destroy that culture. And you look at all the words that have been changed and the words that are in the process of being changed, and it removes people's ability to think correctly. And when you can't think correctly, then things get pretty bizarre and pretty crazy. And, of course, if you look around the world right now, well, there are some wondrous and wonderful things going on, some great awakening occurring. There's also some pretty crazy stuff happening. So we're here to shift the balance in the direction of let's be sane, let's be human. And our definition of a human being is hold a newborn child, you know exactly what a human being is. And that awesome presence of love is what we're here to express, to experience, and to live out of. We're not here to love each other, as the Greeks would tell us. That's a way to destroy a person's ability to think. If you think you're here to love somebody else, and somebody else is here to love you, you'll be looking for love in all the wrong places, and you'll find all kinds of reasons to be in hostility or fear over not being able to find it, because I guarantee you will never find anyone who will love you. Since love is a noun, it's not a verb. It's not something we do to each other. It's a state of being. When we find someone who is functioning as love, when we choose to function as love, then we have that direct experience. And that's what we're here to support. That's what we're here to create. So do we have Dr. Tim with us today? And is Dale on yet?
Dale is on, and or Dr. Tim is on, rather. I do not see Dale yet.
Okay. Well, let's say hello to Dr. Tim and see how the young man be. And in the meantime, Jeanie, I'm just out the front. I've moved the car, and I'm just out front to the left of the door, so you know where I am. We are on the road as we speak, and so Jeanie's in a restaurant where she's got an internet connection. I'm sitting out in the car in this sunny, gorgeous, beautiful day. So, Dr. Tim, how do you be, sir?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. I'm had a lovely day of Thanksgiving yesterday. I hope you had a wonderful radio show. I was doing food prep for my family's Thanksgiving Day meal and spending the day with my mom and cleaning her apartment and make sure everything was ready for the family to get here. They all got here safely. We had a lovely evening, and I've been up today, and the thing I wanted to share today was I was listening to Esther Hicks' Abraham lesson this morning, and one of the beautiful pieces that struck me out of the couple hours I was listening to this morning was she was talking about this unconditional love phrase that we use in our world, and she said that essentially what we're looking for is a way to feel the truth of our true nature of love regardless of the outside conditions. And it is a choice. It's a choice of what to focus on. If we focus our awareness on that true nature, and we realize we can do that in every moment, regardless of conditions, that's what unconditional love is. It's not coming from somebody else. And I was hoping that that would trigger some brain cells for you and or Dale, because it just seemed so timely for me that unconditional love really means being able to tune into your true nature and be in that, coming from the intuition or being in the zone or whatever phrase you want to put on it, in all different conditions. The external conditions are not able to distract me from my true nature as love.
Well, it's certainly an effort in the culture's language to move things in the right direction. And, we did actually talk about this, I think, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks ago, this idea that the mind that is not capable of love, when you look at, most people have been locked into carbon-based memory. They've been locked into their minds. And the mind, simply being a device that stores, holds, and fires information, of course, isn't capable of the experience of love, but because it's the place, my take would be that being that it's the place where most people live is in their minds, the mind is making an effort, as she said, to move in the direction of the truth of who we are. And unfortunately, the mind isn't capable of it, and so there's still that measure of resistance and still, using the language of, if you look at Yeshua's statement about creation, about how we are creators, and you wouldn't know it by the way the Greeks translate the words, but that idea of let thine eye be single and thy body will be filled with light, and the physicists are now telling us that matter is light energy frozen into form or solidified into what we call form. And the key is what traps the light? Who is the trapper here? And the trapper is focus. And so when you hear that, let thine eye be single, if I focus on hate, fear, anger, rage, guilt, then, guess who's coming to dinner? It's going to be that energy. When I focus on the truth of who I am, then I have a different experience. And so the mind tries to make it up in a way that it moves in that direction, but again, my take would be that since the mind isn't capable of love, it's an effort, but it doesn't capture who we are. And it still plays the game of resistance. And for me, the language shift, because that's what most of the world is talking about, is unconditional love. And because the mind is a resonating device, if I say don't think about the color of your car, what fires? If I say something about unconditional love in the same way that don't think about the color of your car causes brain cells to fire in the color of your car, and unconditional, the don't word isn't heard, the un isn't heard, it still becomes conditional. It's still looking for and looking at conditions, would be my take. And that when we shift our language and our focus to all-embracing love, that I can be that active space of love, I can maintain the experience of that active space of love 24/7, 365 in the presence of whatever happens. The most disastrous experience. Who told us that doing hostility or fear because there was a disaster happening would make for a better outcome? And yet, the way the world works, and you'll oftentimes hear people say, well, what else could you do but be angry when something like that happens? It's like, well, you could be choosing to live a human life. You could be in that space of all-embracing love where even this circumstance, even this tragedy, even this trauma is embraced in love, and the outcome's always going to be better when we're in that all-embracing, all-encompassing love. So that would kind of be the shift that I would see needing to happen ultimately, where the non-being mind is still trying to achieve something that it can't achieve. And of course, getting that thing to collapse through forgiveness leaves us in that space of the truth of who we are. The only thing left is that capacity to be the space of love and to let go of the brainwash or the culture that says hostility or fear will get us somewhere.
Yeah, it's to my ear, what you're saying right now is just right in line with what was being talked about. And people were asking questions, and one person said, well, so I get what you're saying, and the thing that brings me back to that state of love is going out into nature. And Abraham said, well, that's not really accurate, because then you're saying that going into nature, something on the outside changing, is what brings you to your source of love. And he said, here's an example. Esther was sitting by the pool in her yard, and there's some beautiful sculptures out there, and she reached this state of peace and openness and awareness, and she said, the beauty of nature here, this 200-year-old oak tree, these beautiful sculptures, they've just brought me such peace. Abraham said, that's not true. And she said, how could you say that? Because when I'm here, this is what I'm feeling. And Abraham said, well, the fact of the matter is you've lived in this house for 7 years, and for the last 7 years, you haven't had this feeling yet. You've looked at the same sculptures, and you haven't had this feeling. You've looked at the same oak tree, and you haven't allowed this feeling. It's the fact that you let yourself become aware of your nature and be in this feeling that's allowed you to experience these external things differently. It's not being caused by the outside. When I let that shift happen internally, then everything about my perception changes. It's all an inside job, and we have the choice. It's the infinite capacity to choose the focus of my conscious awareness, which is the gift of free will. Ian said it beautifully. He was the same kind of thing. He was talking about how his words for it are that mind is that carbon-based memory brain thing that Michael talks about, and that mind is only capable of 24 thoughts per second, and that consciousness is the result of my focus of my awareness, and whatever I choose to focus on is what I become aware of. And he said, that is what creates your experience, and that's the only true form of free will, when we're talking about we've been given this gift of free will by the Creator, that's the only thing we actually have the free will about. What do we choose to focus on? That becomes what we're aware of and conscious of, and that creates our experience of life in the moment.
Yeah. You remind me, Dr. Tim, of a poem by Rudyard Kipling, which is entitled "If," and he really is speaking of this state of being. He calls it being a man. I would call it being a human. But let me share this poem because it just fits so beautifully with what you're saying. It says, "If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about and don't deal in lies, or being hated and don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor walk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can walk and talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Human life, it's awesome, and definitely a challenge for people to say, what? I'm going to treat success and disaster the same? If you're truly in that space of a human being, yeah, that's how it'll work, and you'll move to the next level of creating life out of a conscious space rather than out of the programmed reactions in the mind, which, you know, kings love for us to have those programmed reactions because we make great slaves when we live there.
Well, and of course, my favorite line of that, I've used that poem on the show before when you weren't here, and my favorite line in it is to meet with triumph and disaster and meet those two imposters just the same. It's all my internal labeling of the outside events. All events are neutral. There's a whole lesson in Way of Mastery titled "All Events Are Neutral." And you know, the major teacher Joseph Campbell, he talked about, he went to a guru down in India, and he was talking, and the guru said something, "Do you have a question for me?" And Joseph said, "Well, so I've got this question about good and evil, and whether or not it's okay for us to accept things that people label as bad or evil just the same as anything else." And the guru looked at him and said, "For people like you and I, yes. What people would label as bad, it's what Jesus said when he said, or Yeshua said when he said, resist not evil. Because that evil business is simply a label in my mind. that evil is simply my reality. And that's a tough one for a lot of people to get, but even Rudyard Kipling in this poem was saying it. Triumph and disaster, these two imposters.
Absolutely. And, in essence, what I hear him saying is, maintain your human life, first and foremost. You can make anything you choose to make important, but if that one doesn't come first, if you don't accomplish that goal, then, everything else is for naught because you don't even have a human life. And that awesome act of presence of love is definitely at the forefront of the whole game, just living as a human being. And such a step forward in this society that lays so little value on human life. And Jeanie tells us we've got a caller. I haven't heard from Dale, so I don't know what's happening with Dale. Last I heard he was on the road, so maybe he's out in the boonies somewhere. I don't know. So, but let's see what our caller has to say.
Awesome. It's area code 910. You're on the air.
Yes, this is Patsy from Wilmington, North Carolina, where you all are going to be, and we are looking
forward to having you. Hey there, young lady. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
Well, I look forward to that too. I was just going to make a comment about Kipling's poem. For my birthday in September, I had asked my 14-year-old and 12-year-old grandson to memorize that and give that to me for a gift. Couldn't think of anything, and in fact, this is what I asked for them to do, different things, but I thought it was interesting. I didn't realize that you and Dr. Tim had both, felt so the same way I did about the importance of this poem and what it could mean. And so I was just going to add that, and we will see you on Sunday.
Awesome. We'll look forward to being there. And I think Kipling was one of the early adopters of human life on the planet. Pretty powerful.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Blessings, Patsy. We'll see you Sunday. Take care.
Thank you.
646-200-4169 is our calling number. We had a fun show yesterday, Dr. Tim. I think, if I remember correctly, Jeanie said there was one person in the chat room, and there were two people on the phone, or maybe three. And we had one of the most active call-in days that we've ever had. We had some great conversation, and I got a really nice text, really sweet text, which I'm attempting to open right now. And let me see, from Angela. And Angela had called in. The last we heard from her, she was heading to Seattle to close on her house, and they found out that there was a challenge with the structure of the house, so didn't end up closing. And so she was listening on the show, and we just moved forward. And I'd like to share this because I think it's really powerful and really speaks of what human life does. It's exactly, Angela, thank you for sending me that text. It's exactly what Kipling is talking about, is that we choose to move forward as human beings, whatever the apparent circumstance. So Angela wrote to me, "Thank you for the show today. Reminds me of a day it was 40 below zero in Fairbanks. I arrived to an empty classroom, and just a school teacher. One student showed up with frost in his beard. His truck didn't start that morning, and he rode his bicycle 5 miles to get to class. I learned that whoever is supposed to show up does, and I was totally present. I put all of me into the lesson, and it might have been the finest hour of my career. Jacob ultimately came to work in my building 3 years later, and every time he saw me, he couldn't believe how I did what I do just for him. every time tears well up in his eyes when I told him he inspired me and he was worthy. My motto became teach who shows up. Thank you, Michael, for teaching who shows up, especially on the holidays when it's a blessing to have a dose of sanity. When I do a worksheet or help someone with an awesome worksheet, I find myself in that wide open temple. It's just awesome. It feels like home. So I thought that was a pretty cool text gift from Angela. We thank you, and thank you for teaching, Angela, the people you've touched. That's 646-200-4169. If you have a question for us, if you're on the line, if you push 1, we'll put your hand up in the phone queue, and Jeanie will introduce you. Do we have any sign of Dale?
No,
or anyone with a hand up? Oh, let's say hello then.
Area code 541. You're on the air.
Hi, it's Julie from Ashland, Oregon.
Welcome.
Hello. Hi. Am I coming through okay? Clearly. Is my speaking clear?
Yes, you
Loud
are.
and clear. We got you. I was mute challenged there for a minute.
Okay. Oh, yes. All right. I know Dale isn't there today yet, maybe, but I want to read. I just got through transcribing from a disc of his, and it's disc 1, track 8 from Realizing the Christ Within. And this is something I talked about yesterday or the day before, I think. And it's really got a lot in it. So I hope it's all right. It'll probably take me a couple minutes to read it. And then basically what I want to refer to is how, Michael, your worksheet that you created, the reality management worksheet, actually helps us realize what this person is talking about. It's a quote that Dale Allen had of another author, it has to do with kind of like quantum physics and how things kind of work. And I think this kind of helps us see the outcome that we get from your worksheets, okay? The gifts that you gave to us of your worksheets. All right, here we go. The author is Albert LaChance, and it's a book that he wrote, The Modern Christian Mystic, Finding the Unitive Presence of God. And Dale instructs his people. He's doing this live at a workshop, so he instructs people to breathe a lot and take things in. So I'll put those in too. Okay, imagine light, the first light, the light of God streaming over the horizon of the beginning. Thus was the universe conceived of no thing but the Christ Logos of God. In that sense, the universe itself is a virgin birth, born of no thing but the consciousness of God itself. The universe is a divine child, born of the selfhood of God expressed as light. Okay, that's kind of like you have to accept that and breathe and take that in. So now, imagine for a moment a gushing font of fire spreading forth into the dark womb of nothingness. Breathe. Let go of your need to change, he to she in God. If you say Father, Mother, that's perfect because that honors both aspects. If you make he unto she, you're still losing the point. God projected he outward, creating duality. He projected into the womb the physical reality of life. So Dale talks about that it's still one, even though it looks like two. It's still one. So another author is Arthur M. Young, and he wrote a book called The Reflexive Universe, The Evolution of Consciousness. And he's going to talk about some quantum physics things that Dale felt the languaging helped him understand. An idea that is expressed in old myths and religions is the idea of a fall or a descent into matter, often, though not always followed by an ascent into the celestial spheres and a higher state of being. Okay, he says breathe and breathe consciously. Okay, this idea is rather at odds with current rational thinking, which regards itself as having outgrown such superstitious, guilt-ridden notions and now is enjoying the enlightenment, in quotes, provided by scientists. Today's absolute fact science is tomorrow's father. Okay, now a little more. However, recent developments in physics, quantum physics in particular, is that when properly understood, they provide confirmation for the ancient notion of a fall. We may now show that it is true, in fact, that a fall occurs. Breathe, let this in. For the same process by which light first precipitates or condenses into matter, losing a degree of freedom in exchange for permanence. That's the line that caught my attention, and I'm going to repeat. Light precipitates or condenses into matter, losing a degree of freedom in exchange for permanence, in exchange for being physical matter. And it is continued with the generation of atoms, and again with their combination into molecules, so that in the grand scheme of evolution, in the first 4 stages that they focus on in that book, it constitutes a freedom of light to the inertness that characterizes minerals and the physical world. Okay, that's the end of all the quoting. And so, to me, this shows us how we give up our essence and our being in order to have this temporary illusion of permanence. And so when we do the worksheet process and we let go of being right and all the mind conditions that are holding us in guilt and all the anything unlike love, when we start to clear that out, we actually gain back our freedom that is innately there from the very beginning. And so if we can actually begin to harness this for ourselves, we can create anew and fresh in every moment by canceling the goals and setting the new goals. So, Michael, you must have known this, but I just wanted to bring it to light for everyone, in this form, translated through a few other authors and brought to us from Dale Allen Hoffman, one of your students, and now through me, Julie Matthews, one of your students who's kind of getting it, and I hope I transmitted it to others for their sake of getting it too. And so that is what I wanted to communicate. And I figured Dale would be able to expand on it. So I'm done. So there. Please.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Just like having Dale here. His voice has changed a little bit, but that's fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for creating a worksheet that helps us be restored to that freedom of our consciousness and our will.
But to me, that being alive in every instant of our lives in a conscious space that is fresh and new gives us the opportunity, instead of falling and being locked into the past and then simply repeating and replicating the past, that we can make each moment fresh and new. And as we do, everything changes. Everything moves.
Yeah, it does. And he was talking a few weeks ago about calibration, and so this is part of the power of changing our world, instead of getting caught into the negative spiral and patterns in our mind about it all and how to fix it. If we just keep focused on coming back to the essence of our being, gaining that freedom and creating fresh, that's what changes our world, our own immediate world, and we trust that it's working elsewhere. It's rippling out and resonating everywhere.
Well, I think, in fact, whatever we've invested of our energy into the manifest world, especially when that manifestation is insane, when that expression is insane, and we've invested our life energy in it, when we forgive, we actually get to recapture and make that energy new once again. There's a literal transmutation that takes place, and to me, that's one of the keys in the whole forgiveness process, is to recapture the energy that's been tied up in holding things of drama and trauma frozen, or things of beauty frozen, and to unfreeze them, recapture the energy, and renew the creation moment to moment to moment, every instant. You know, that idea in the past of I die daily in Christ is I allow this new active presence of love to wash from me my past and come into a new creation every instant, every moment. And to do it from that active, awesome space of love is key in the whole game. It's what humans were designed to do in the first place.
And Yeshua really demonstrated this. I was talking to someone about him walking on the water, and and how science is proving that probably didn't happen, and it's been falsely written about, all that. And I had this notion that Yeshua practiced what you were just speaking of, and we were just speaking of. He practiced it so wholly and truly and in the now, absolutely, that he probably didn't even have a perception that there was water that he was walking on. He was just showing up for the disciples because they were calling for him. And they saw through their perception of him coming towards them. And it looked like, and perhaps was, walking on water, because those molecules were just organized the way they were, and Yeshua, was organized the way he was at this higher conscious presence of love vibration. And so I'm throwing that out there that, I guess that it's just all about awareness and what we hold within, and then how we move through life from there.
Well, Jeanie has a neat understanding of that whole walking on water thing that really ties in with this whole idea. Jeanie, would you share that?
If you can hear me, it's awfully loud in here. But
actually, you're loud and clear, sweetie. You're coming across fine.
Okay. In the scriptures, it talks about the disciples are in a boat, and there's this storm going around, and they're afraid, and they see Yeshua walking on the water. And Peter says to Yeshua, I know if you ask me to step out, I can walk on water. And so Jesus tells him, come on. And so he steps out of the boat, and the same storm is going on. Nothing has changed in the circumstances. And as long as he keeps his focus on where he's going, he walks on water. But as soon as he starts paying attention to the storm instead of where he's going, he sinks. And I use that as, the same garbage can be going on in our world. And if we put our focus on where we're going and where we're headed and not on the circumstances around us, we can literally and figuratively walk water. But when we start putting our focus on what's going on, then one, we will recreate the same kind of stuff happening again, because that's where we have put our creative powers. But then also we'll start to sink, because what we have focused on is actually going to drown us. And so it's definitely about where we concentrate and where we focus. The same world can be happening, but with a different perspective.
Oh, that's great. I like that, Jeanie. Thanks.
Powerful.
Yeah. You're welcome. And we do have 2 callers.
Careful. Okay, well, one more thought here that we need to be careful, too, when we buy into this religious system called science and its dogmas and its doctrines. There's an interesting book that you might want to read called The Nature of Scientific Revolution. And in that book, this double PhD from Princeton talks about how scientific ideas die when the old scientists die. They change when the old scientists die. And so there is a dogma to materialism. There is a religion there, blind faith in things that can't be proven. And while all the while saying, see what we can prove. So we'll just, recognize that you have to be careful and anything in the expressed world fits in the umbrella of Rudyard Kipling's These Imposters. All of the seeming permanence is an imposter, and it's all energy, and when we consciously interact into a new true state of being, that is our real human beingness. So, Jeanie, let's say hello to some of our other callers.
Oh, Michael, first,
yes.
Would you say the title of that book, and if you know the author, please?
It's The Nature of Scientific Revolution, and the author is, let me get my brain around it, Thomas Kuhn, K-H-U-N, I believe it's spelled.
Okay,
Thomas
thank
Kuhn.
you.
The Nature of Scientific Revolution. Yeah, all right, blessings. Thank you for your sharing.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Jeanie, you've got another hand up.
Yes, the first caller is area code 203. You're on the air.
Hi, my name is Mark.
Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm Mark.
You're loud and clear, Mark. Welcome. Where are you calling from?
Connecticut, actually. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
I met you in Florida maybe a couple years ago, and I've been doing worksheets on and off, mostly on ever since. But I really appreciate the worksheets. But I did have a really tough weekend, and I got a couple questions around it. If you have a moment.
That's our job. That's what we're here for. Go for it.
Okay, I'll just explain what happened and what's happening, and then I have two specific questions. I had a bad fall this weekend, and I injured myself and knocked out a couple front teeth. And then the same morning, yeah, it's been painful. Once the numbing went away, it was very painful, fairly painful anyway. But then the same morning, my girlfriend broke up with me and then left me for Thanksgiving weekend. So that was tough, and it's been tough. But I'm finding myself, even when I'm trying to do the work, I'm finding myself obsessing quite a bit about what I want to say, about how hurt I am, and, emotionally hurt and abandoned feeling. And so my first question is thoughts about that, but I have one more little bit of information. I don't know if I should share it first to ask my other question.
Well, can I offer you some input before we go to the next piece of information?
Sure, I really appreciate it.
Okay. So the first thing would be to recognize that I'm hurt because inside of me, not because of what happened with my girlfriend. How long have you known this lady?
10 years, but we've only been together. We've been together for almost a year, but we kind of, at least we both thought we knew that we were meant to be with each other, but it doesn't look like it worked out. So 10 years and then 1 year together.
Okay. So, Mark, if you went back 11 years ago, and or maybe to an earlier relationship where there was a breakup, if that's ever happened to you before, this quality of hurt that you're experiencing, did you know that quality of hurt 11 years ago or longer?
Yes, I've known the feeling of being abandoned, definitely, yeah, and hurt, and yes, at various times. What
the mind does is it tends to turn everything backward. I'm hurt because this happened, and my offering would be, am I hurt because this happened, or did this happen because I'm hurt? Because I have the energy of hurt, behind this idea of abandoning. We've talked about Marcel Vogel, a 23-year senior scientist from IBM, who had a camera with which to take a picture of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. So if I have a lot of hurt around being abandoned, and abandonment here is really the thought, the feeling would be hurt. If I have that in me and that energy is unresolved, the question I need to ask myself, have I continuously been broadcasting to this woman who feels like we're supposed to be together, or again, a thought thinks we're supposed to be together, am I continuously broadcasting to her, but don't you know I'm supposed to be abandoned? Don't you know you're supposed to leave me? Don't you know that I'm supposed to be abandoned? And, with that onslaught of energy over extended periods of time, many people, because of the law of resonance, can't refuse behaving based on that energy. They turn around and they say, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing this? This isn't how I want to be. This isn't what I want to do. But literally the energetic process is so powerful. And so here you are once again, Mark, looking at this deep hurt and abandonment. And my invitation would be that the first order of business, rather than trying to figure it out, would be to really start to go in and forgive and free yourself from this abandonment that literally sends an energetic message of whatever for you is behind the abandonment. Maybe the thought is something like, I don't deserve to have somebody with me, I'm not worthy, or I did something that deserves punishment and this is my just punishment. There could be 1,000 variations on the theme. But the idea of the worksheet process, and, there are several approaches that you could take with this particular worksheet. One, your girlfriend might be number 1C, you might be number 1C, abandonment might be a number 1C. If it's a worthiness issue, then being worthy might be the thought. And start to forgive that energetic pattern in you so that whether somebody's there or they're not, you live in that connected space of love because there's no energy around abandonment in you any longer. And as you free yourself, you will probably find yourself producing a different result. But you remember in the ancient Aramaic where they told us how this creative process worked, they said, take care of the heart, which is the unconscious or the dissociated mind, for out of it are the issues in life. And so here's the issue. I've got in my heart that for whatever reason, whatever my individual dynamic is, I'm supposed to be abandoned. And sooner or later, he, she, they will abandon me. And so as I'm able to bring that forward to conscious awareness, and it's no longer a hidden, energized dynamic within me, then I will tend to create different experiences. So, it sounds like it literally, and I'm not sure of the order of things, whether you had the breakup of the relationship and then the fall, but it sounds like it's literally hit you right in the face, this abandonment issue. And time to be working through and letting loose of that one, which may totally change the energy between yourself and this young woman, and or may lead you to create a relationship that is so committed and so nurturing that it goes beyond all imaginings.
I see. Well, thank you. That gives me definitely some good things to do worksheets about today, which I think will be very helpful because I've never really addressed the abandonment issue. So thank you.
On the other hand, I don't know if you're in communication with her or she has been involved in the work of doing worksheets, but she might do some worksheets on whatever. What we know is when we're not functioning consciously, that is out of the state of being love that we're designed to be, but are functioning out of unconscious dynamics such as this abandonment issue, is that I'm literally this high energy wave that Marcel Vogel is able to measure with his camera is literally sending out what I like to call a creative wave or psychic megaphone message that says, hey, world, I'm looking for a relationship, and by the way, here's the way it's supposed to end up. I need to be abandoned. So no woman need apply if you're not capable of abandonment. I've got to have somebody who really knows how to do that. And so she's going to come with a matching bag of garbage. And, that's what we, in our Healing Through Relationships workshop, we identify the world is calling a love relationship. We're attracted through the resonance of these matching bags of garbage. And I don't have any idea, not knowing her, what her match is. But whatever it is for her, this is her opportunity to forgive, what she's experiencing. Is she feeling bad because, she's not fulfilling your dream and she's to blame for what you're feeling? That might be her matching bag of garbage. And as she forgives as to that one, and you forgive as to what you're holding, then the dynamic between you has to change.
Right. I've never been able to get her interested in any of this, the kind of work I'm doing, but perhaps one day. She just doesn't want to listen to it or find out about it or anything like that.
Well, this may be the thing that opens the gate for you to actually bring someone into your life that really, truly is about and wants to do their work, and that you create a whole different world together based in the process of healing, and reclaiming your true human life, which is a whole lot more important than most of the stuff that people are doing with relationships.
I see. I have one more quick question, if you have a second, about that. This is about physical healing in my teeth. Obviously, I'm going to have to get some ceramic implants, but the question is, I've had a lot of tooth issues for many years, a lot of abscesses and infections, etc. And through various holistic methods, I've kind of kept them at bay, but still getting slightly worse over the years. And part of me is realizing that I don't want to be, I feel like I'm very attached to the goal of healing my teeth. But at the same time, the practical part of me says, well, if I don't do certain protocols to keep the infection down and reduce the infection, hopefully eliminate the infection, well, then I'm not going to make any progress. So I'm wondering if as far as physical healing is, if I'm kind of blocking, how can I avoid, I just don't want to block things by this overwhelming attachment to a goal. And I was wondering if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, remember that the essence of the forgiveness process is the canceling of goals. So that would be a place to start and to look under the surface at what might be there for you. And to recognize that, in the ancient teachings we were told to be holy, and that didn't mean sitting down on your knees and folding your hands. It meant being conscious and awake and aware and functioning on all levels, whole. And so, the person who says, well, there's a glass of water over there, and I know that with my mind I can move that glass of water and drink from it. And, I believe that's true. I think that enough focus and energy put into that, and someone's actually capable of doing that. But in the meantime, I may die of thirst if I don't reach my hand out and take a drink of water. And, you were given a hand, so when you're given tools on the physical plane to support your healing process, engage in them, utilize them, and do your deeper work at the same time. As opposed to trying to simply do it in some sort of an etheric way that you use what's available to you on every level.
I see. But as far as the goals, I can start with that on the worksheets. As far as fear about my teeth, and
I would definitely do that. Yeah.
Okay.
May I put in something?
Go for it, please.
Hey, I don't know if you're familiar with Louise Hay or not. I really like her book, and a lot of the things that she says is on target. But she talks about different parts of the body and what they represent. And about the teeth, she says when there are teeth problems, and this isn't necessarily the gums or anything like that, but she said root canals in particular, but any issues with the teeth themselves, that it's about not making a choice in your life. It says, and actually let me just read it. It says, if I'm indecisive about what I want to take in or what I want to digest in my life, then I continue digesting what I've always accepted before. My indecision is actually a choice to accept what I'm already doing. However, if I'm not consciously choosing, then the conscious choice is required in the modern world if you want to enjoy good health. So it goes along with what Michael has already said to you about making choices, and that perhaps in the past some of your choices haven't been for your highest and best. And so changing your goals in the path that you're wanting to go, and like Michael said, perhaps someone else who wants to go in that path with you, is a different decision that you have put off going into. And so, perhaps your girlfriend has made that choice for you. It's just another thought on it.
I see. So it's indecisiveness that Louise Hay thinks is an issue, or more that I'm kind of making choices?
It's
I see. Indecisive.
Yeah, it represents choices that you are not making. And even if you've had a long-standing indecisiveness, that by not making a choice, you're actually making a choice to stay status quo.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful input, actually. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the help, and I'm going to get right on some worksheets now.
Well, we hold the space. We hold the space, and seeing comfort in the front of your face and whatever that energy is about. If there's something there for you to look at, that you can gently surface it, face it, and breathe through it and let it go. And we hold the space for that healing and that wholeness. And if there's any other way we can support you, you've got our number 5 days a week. And the time is winding down, so we're just about out of time. I'm going to have to close the show out. We appreciate everybody's calls and input. And on Monday, we'll be doing Parent-Teacher Talk Monday. So bring a stranger to the show. And in the meantime, the most awesome gift you can give the world is to create the best year yet of your eternal life. And we're here to support you and join you in doing that. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor.